have here a letter from Mr. Jeffrey Celis, addressed to the Chairman, Honorable Gus Tambunting, Committee on Legislative Franchises, is dated December 11, 2023, and I quote, "For humanitarian appeal and request for consideration based on justice. Chairman Tambunting and members of the committee, I am respectfully appealing for your humanitarian consideration regarding my status as being detained at the House of Representatives due to my being cited in contempt by the Committee on Legislative Franchises. My appeal is anchored on the request to sincerely consider the deteriorating health condition of my 77-year-old mother, as she is deeply worried of my present detention to the point that she refuses to eat since 4 days ago. Secondly, I also state that I apologize for my misbehavior and the disrespect that I openly displayed before the committee hearing, as such behavior is indeed uncalled for and unbecoming. I also apologize for my failure to proper conduct, vetting, and verification about the information of my source. Thereby, I failed to observe due diligence, prudence, and propriety, which are mandatory values in public information work. I commit before the committee that I shall make amends of these lapses in my editorial judgment so as to avoid similar weaknesses or even errors in relaying information to the public. May the spirit of justice and fairness be your objective basis to grant affirmative action regarding my humanitarian appeal." And he ended, "Happy holidays to all. Sincerely, Jeffrey Celis." And it is signed by the Center, Your Honors.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
What is the point? The point of order of the Honorable J.J. Suarez.
Can I just ask when did we receive this letter?
Comsec.
Your Honors, this letter was received while we are doing our hearing this morning.
So in other words, it was done earlier today.
Yes, Your Honor.
Was Mr. Celis alone when he did this letter, or was he under the supervision of his lawyer?
Mr. Chair, he was alone, Mr. Chair.
He was alone?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, Mr. Chair, can I just ask the
Yes.
lawyers? Can I proceed?
Please proceed. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Attorney Tolentino, do you confirm the letter of your client?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And do you agree with everything that he has stated in his letter of request and apology?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, that's what I have to ask, Mr. Chair. Then I have some points of clarification for the with regards to this issue later.
Mr. Chair, point of clarification also.
Another point of clarification by our Senior Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Don Gonzales. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, did Mr. Celis file a Rule 58 or Rule 65 in the higher court, Mr. Chair?
As of today, Mr. Chair, none, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, the Honorable Aquino.
Yes, it was mentioned about for his misbehavior. I want to clarify, is the misbehavior calling this committee a kangaroo court? Is it all about calling this committee a kangaroo court?
Well, I think that's one of, I mean, it's one of them. It's one of them, but not the only one.
You made an apology.
The Honorable Abante.
Mr. Chair, before I make a motion here, I'd like to ask the attorney here, who delivered the letter here?
We have no personal knowledge, Mr. Chair, who delivered the letter. But before the hearing this morning, Mr. Chair, I met Celis and Miss Lorraine Badoy, Mr. Chair, and Ka Eric told me that he's going to write a letter. That's what I know, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, do you think, Attorney Mark, that Casellis is really apologetic and that he is sincere in his letter?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Very apologetic, Mr. Chair. And very humble, Mr. Chair.
So it means that he is remorseful of what he did.
I believe so, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, upon hearing the letter and upon hearing the testimony of his lawyer, yes.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chair,
I think there are other people that would like to ask a question or have a manifestation. But before that, the chair would like to recognize for Ako Bicol, the Honorable Raul Bongalon, who is here. Welcome to the hearing. And of course, for the 3rd District of Quezon City, the Honorable Franz Pumarin. And for the 1st District of Lanao del Sur, the Honorable Adyong, who's also here in today's hearing. And the Honorable Ernesto Judicial of Manila is also here. Welcome, sir. We now proceed. The Honorable Paduano, the Honorable Dan Fernandez, the Honorable Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anyway, since Ka-Eric is not present and is being represented by Attorney Tolentino, Mr. Chairman, in relation to this motion for reconsideration of Casellis, I just like to ask, kasi he's voicing now, his client, na ito nga, yung undertaking niya, ay talagang gagawin niya. But of course, I have to discuss pa yung 2 points na missing dun sa narinig ko sa letter niya. But, Attorney, diretsong pagkatanong, you posted just like what Ka-Eric is doing. And in fact, pati hunger strike and everything, they're telling the public that they will be mag-hunger strike sila, di ba? And, Attorney, nag-visit ka sa kanila, di ba?
During the first hearing, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
tama, di ba?
And
Then-
also yesterday, Mr. Chair, but I was not able to enter the facility, Mr. Chair.
But
We're not allowed by the security.
Yeah, but do you confirm that during your visit, nag-post ka sa Facebook? And ang caption doon, visiting my 2 clients, illegally detained in Congress. Do you confirm that?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So,
But that is only my personal position, Mr. Chair.
but you are a resource person in this committee. Don't you know that I can cite you in contempt for Section 11 again and letter F, undue interference.
That's why, Mr. Chair, I'd like to apologize for that, Mr. Chair. That's only my personal position, Mr. Chair, and just expressing my...
Oh no, Attorney, ayan ka na naman personal. Kaya nga personal what you are an invited resource person in this hearing and you are not allowed to attack Congress, especially this committee.
Yes, Mr. Chair. That's why I'd like to apologize for that, Mr. Chair.
And you should, tanggalin mo yan dapat.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I will do
And
that.
all
Mr.
those
Chair.
posts na tinitira mo yung mga indirectly, tinitira yung mga members dito sa House. That's why, Mr. Chairman, just to manifest, paano ako maniniwala dito? Natitindigan niya yung statement ng affidavit ng kliyente niya kung siya mismo may problema dito sa conduct niya, behavior niya, after and outside this committee hearing. Of course, depende yan sa committee. If they will accept your apologies. But of course, ako, I just warn you, Attorney, don't do it again. And do you commit na tanggalin mo yon yung mga post mo? After
yes,
this hearing?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I will.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chair, may I proceed? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anyway, 2 points, Mr. Chairman. Ang request ni Ka-Eric is all about the medical condition of his mother. So, humanitarian. Now, but of course, nag-apologize siya with regards to misbehavior, conduct unbecoming during the hearing, etc. etc. Tapos pati yung vetting niya doon sa source niya. But, balik ko lang sa kay attorney. Attorney, tinanong kanina ni SDS, yung Rule 65 and 68 hindi pa ginamit ni Ka-Eric. Tama? As of, sabi mo kanina, as of now.
Based on my personal knowledge, Mr. Chair, not Mr. Chair, because whole day I'm here, Mr. Chair, and since I'm here, I have no personal knowledge whether he filed a certiorari or habeas corpus with the Supreme Court, Mr. Chair.
Attorney, pwede po bang maging klaro tayo dyan sa issue niyo? Pwede po bang tawagan niyo yung si Ka-Eric? Kasi, you know, that can change the complexion of whatever, you know. So can you make sure, because unless you're also the same lawyer that will file for him, ergo, he could not have done it. Iba ho yung story niya.
I am not engaged by Mr. Celis with respect to the filing of certiorari. There is, Mr. Chair.
Yes, but can you
Can I
please
request for 1 minute, Mr. Chair?
suspension declare?
I will mention.
Chairman?
Suspension. Suspension para mas
Kasi Chairman, gusto ko lang linawin yung content ng maging content dito sa Pilaris niya.
Okay.
Para sa kay Atty. Pag kinausap ng si Celis.
Okay, so okay, we will resume the session. I think there's a follow-up question that would refer the reply of Ka-Eric. Session resumes. The Honorable Paduano.
Thank you, Chairman. Anyway, two things, Mr. Chairman. Ito kasing may mga furlough din sa committee ko nung nakaraan. Pero iba yung sitwasyon dito eh. Kay Eric eh. Now, ito lang attorney. Kasi sabi ko nga, yung undertaking niya, apologies lang. Okay, now, after ma-lift o temporary lifted ang detention niya, nasa labas siya. Now, kailangan to amended dapat ang gagawin natin dyan kung papayag siya. That he will commit not to issue public statements outside against this investigation, individual members of this committee, and that includes the whole Congress. That's number one. Eh, wala akong assurance.
Chairman, if I may.
Attorney Rolex,
Tapusin
please.
ko lang,
Oh, sige,
Chairman,
I'm sorry,
bago
I'm sorry.
pumasok si
Attorney
kababayan ko. Anyway,
Kasi manwa.
that's one. Number two, yung question malinaw dapat na he will not seek relief, especially on Rule 65 and 68, Mr. Chairman. Dapat maging bahagi yan ng affidavit niya.
Okay.
Kasi, just in case, we can also use it, kung lalapit sa Supreme Court, we can also use it. Di ba? Just like what we did with Governor Bamba. So,
Okay.
kailangan dito, Mr. Chairman, linawin natin
Okay.
yung mismo affidavit niya. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so Attorney
Can I
Rolex.
call my client, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Can I ask for 1 minute?
We will just have to have those commitments, no? As requested by the Honorable Paduano.
I just relay the message, Mr. Chair.
Yes, and
But the
we have
decision is
replied
with him
before
now.
we resume our hearings
Okay,
on this
Mr. Chair.
issue. The Honorable Dan Fernandez.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that we are already discussing the merit of our supposedly motion. No?
Yes.
So, in other words, we will not be discussing the objection anymore if we have a movement for this motion. So, in other words, we are getting the different manifestation of our members, and thereby I will be discussing also my reservation on the supposed letter that we have received regarding the manifestation of Mr. Celis.
Thank you very much. Yes,
I believe, Mr. Chairman, here we know that Mr. Celis is a threat to our national security. Considering that he mentioned that in all fairness, no, dahil may sakit po yung kanyang nanay, even my mom is right now is in the hospital, but I'm still trying to work at it right now. But I think we have this kind of situation wherein nagkaroon po ng mistrust and distrust yung ating pong hearing regarding Mr. Celis. And even the president of this country have signed a new national security policy comprising 2023 and 2028. And this in this policy that was signed by the president, it encompasses the meaning of security of this country, the national security. It only not includes the national sovereignty, the territorial integrity, but including the political stability and public security. Thereby, ito pong si Mr. Celis, no, because of non-disclosure of his false information, have lead to animosity and adversity between the upper and the lower chamber. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Chairman, ako mismo, yung mga empleyado ko, hindi lang naman po tayo nag-aaproba ng budget dito ng different departments. We also have a constant daily communication with the different employees of the upper chamber. We are amending laws, we are drafting and crafting house bills, and we have a constant communication with them. Yung isang empleyado, Mr. Chairman, kausap yung isang empleyado ng senador. Ang tawag sa atin, mga traidor. Ang tawag naman natin sa kanila, mga hudas. And this is causing political instability and also involving the public in this issue. So much more that political instability is being created. Mismo pong si Mr. Celis, no? I believe, no? Yung pagiging puso at yung kanyang puso at sa kanyang isipan, yung pagiging kadre niya, he is not properly rehabilitated. It's always been there. Never been gone. And I believe, never will be, Mr. Chairman. That's the reason why meron siyang salita na kung hindi magkakaroon ng magandang hindi siya mapapagbigyan, babalik na lang po siya sa pagiging NPA. We are living in a democracy. And every one of us is here, elected by the people. We are debating, we are interpolating. Sometimes we are being rejected, but we agree on voting on something. And that's the reason why, how can we be assured of that after we have given him, to be released in the detention in this House of Representatives, nakakasigurado po ba tayo na hindi po tayo aatakihin muli? And we have been elected by the people and it is our right to vote, di ba? On something that pertains to our national security. At sa paningin ko po, Mr. Chairman, hindi pa po napapanahon, no? Now, in relation naman po kay Mrs. Badoy, I leave it to the discretion of this committee if we're going to release her, because siya naman po ay nagsinungaling lamang dito sa committee ito, and probably out of the good courtesy of this committee, we can release her. But of course, yung binitawan ni Mr. Celis, very critical po to, and even the President have ordered us, in order niya sa kanyang national policy, na sinabi niya to succeed the new national security policy, the whole of government approach and the whole of the nation approach must be considered and harmonized in our program and strategy. And even the policymakers can likewise use this document as a guiding tool to secure our national security. Nakakatakot po. But unless that, yun na nga po, magsalita po si Mr. Celis that he will respect the decision of this committee, then I will change my consideration.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Don Fernandez. Anyway, may I ask Attorney Mark? Mark, Attorney Trentino, can you really check with your client while some members are speaking here?
Okay, yes, Mr. Chair.
So you may want to validate so we can save time, no? You're supposed to answer the question raised by the Honorable Paduano for clarity so that she can vote properly for this measure. The Honorable King voice the President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, in the letter of Mr. Celis, he mentioned or he apologized for certain violations of the ethical code, right, of, I suppose, media practitioners. And so, I would like to ask Attorney Mark or Attorney Rolex if these ethical violations are also the same basis for the suspension that you imposed upon him. So earlier you mentioned that you have a newly convened editorial board, and that editorial board recently decided to suspend him. So, pwede ba namin malaman kung yun ba yung pasihan? Yun po ba?
I will give way to my colleague because he was able to talk to him earlier today.
In short, ano ba
I
yung
will call
findings ninyo with respect to yung violation nung yung sinasabi niyang ethical yung ethical considerations na nabanggit doon sa sulat?
Actually, Mr. Chair, our basis for the suspension of Celis is because of his admission during our first hearing, Mr. Chair, that he made any statement in a question form that is not verified from an unverified source, Mr. Chair. In violation of our rules, Mr. Chair, with the SMNI.
So itaas na, kasi dito, binabasa ko Mr. Chair sa kanilang manual. So nakasulat dito, correspondents and reporters should not hide their source of a news story unless revealing it may threaten or cause harm to the source or lead to a halt in the flow of information to the correspondent. So clearly here, he hid the source, right? So maybe he's invoking na may magkakaroon ng harm. Siguro yon, di ba? And dito nakasulat, in such cases, the source should be revealed to the highest editorial authority who should decide whether or not to broadcast the story and take responsibility for airing it. So it's very clear in your own manual kung ano ang step-by-step na dapat gawin ni Mr. Celis. Kaya nagtataka ako kung bakit tayo nagkakaroon ng ganitong klaseng confusion kung paano dapat mag-behave si Mr. Celis in this situation. Kasi it's very clear in this manual. That's why ko tinatanong kayo. So, clearly, yung source na ito ay dapat alam nung ng highest editorial authority.
Dapat, Mr. Chair, but
Oh, yan. So, yun ang tanong ko. So, alam nyo ba?
hindi, Mr. Chair.
Oh, so kayo
Because
rin ay nag-violate dito
during
sa linya ninyo manual?
During the program, Mr. Chair, it was a live. It was a live
No,
show.
hindi yun ang tanong ko. Dito lang siya.
We were not informed, Mr. Chair, because he was just reading a text at the time.
Okay, so in short, yung...
A text message
okay,
at the
so,
time,
so,
in a live interview, a live
okay, so
program.
yung suspension ninyo is not based on what I read.
It's based on his admission, Mr. Chair, that he made an unverified, his statement in a question form is based on an unverified source, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with this
Partly,
particular...
Mr. Chair, is something to do with our manual, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so I will reserve my other questions relating to this in the next hearing, or after we decide on this, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very
Pero
much
mukhang
to the Honorable
it's not related.
Okay, the Honorable Paduano is still waiting for
Mr. Chair,
reply.
we weren't able to communicate with our client, Mr. Chair,
And
because based on our information, he was only given 1 or 2 hours per day to use the cell phone. I don't know if this is the time, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, since we're talking about Celis, you know, andyan naman po siya eh. Why not invite him over and try to find out if he will going to assure this committee that he will not be speaking against us, considering that yes, of course, I think it is incumbent upon us, to invite him over, considering that he is just around. And we can ask him directly for us to find out kung the letter that he wrote was sincerely coming from him and not being written by other people, di ba? So I think it's just proper and right for us to find out.
Mr. Chair, I concur. I concur with Congressman.
the Honorable Toby Cangco.
Actually, that is one proposal. One proposal also is if we could allow the lawyer to visit his client. What would you prefer, Mr. Chair?
Well,
Mr. Chairman, 1 minute suspension, please.
okay, no, right, I'm sorry.
Why
Before we
not
go to the suspension, it has been the policy of the committee that since they are detained, that was a motion of the previous hearing, we would not have allowed them to speak before this committee because they were detained. As a matter of fact, Honorable Suarez wanted to interpret him further, but we had to rule otherwise. But in this case, it changes the complexion because now this is a furlough that he is requesting. And there are questions that he would like to ask. So maybe on the motion of the Honorable Dan Fernandez, this session is hereby suspended.
Okay.
Hindi kasi, sulat niya talaga yan? Sulat niya ba talaga yan? Kailangan nakanotaryo yan.
Hindi ba?